A day after the allegations of mass sexual assault were made public, Cologne continues to search for the perpetrators and for answers. How could things get so out of hand? More victims are coming forward.
Aber dann wurden wir umzingelt von einer Truppe von ca. 20, 30.
Suddenly we were surrounded by a group of between 20 and 30 men. They were full of anger, and we had to make sure that no one of us was pulled away by them. They were grabbing us, and we were trying to get away as quickly as possible.
Police and witnesses continue to speak of a group of up to 1,000 men groping and often robbing women at Cologne's main railway station on New Year's Eve. More than 100 criminal complaints have already been filed. With Germany now announcing the country took in about 1.1 million asylum seekers in 2015, the New Year's Eve incidents are causing many to criticize Angela Merkel's open arms policy. Cologne's mayor is under fire for suggesting women need to be more careful.
Women would also be smart not to go and embrace everyone that you meet and who seems to be nice. Such advances could be misunderstood, and that is something every woman and every girl should protect herself from.
As the search for the perpetrators continues, questions still remain as to how this night of celebration turned sour so quickly. Fred Pleitgen, CNN.
The politicians can pretend it's something else, but Donald Trump calls it radical Islamic terrorism. That's why he's calling for a temporary shutdown of Muslims entering the United States until we can figure out what's going on. He'll quickly cut the head off ISIS and take their oil. And he'll stop illegal immigration by building a wall on our southern border that Mexico will pay for.
We will make America great again.
I understand that when the mainstream media covers immigration, it doesn't often see it as an economic issue. But I can tell you it is a very personal economic issue. And I will say the politics of it would be very, very different if a bunch of lawyers or bankers were crossing the Rio Grande. Or if a bunch of people with journalism degrees were coming over and driving down the wages in the press. Then we would see stories about the economic calamity that is befalling our nation. If I'm elected president, we will triple the Border Patrol. We will build a wall that works. I'm Ted Cruz, and I approve this message.
Well, Neil, I want to take this opportunity to announce my candidacy for president.
Marco Rubio may say,
this is the most important election.
But it's what he elected to wear on his feet that has his fellow Republicans and the press poking fun. A vote for Marco Rubio is a vote for men's high-heeled booties, tweeted Ted Cruz's communications director, linking to a New York Magazine article with that headline. Man heels, one reporter called them.
Oh my God, look at that!
No, he didn't.
Was that Mark? This is beyond, this is Austin Powers, baby! Yeah, they're shagalicious.
And if it wasn't Austin Powers, it was Harry Styles from One Direction inspiring Rubio comparisons. When Harry wears his boots with heels, girls squeal. Will they squeal, "I love you, Marco"? The heels add maybe 2 inches to the 5'10" Rubio. Reporters tried to figure out which designer booties he was wearing, until the Rubio campaign told Politico they were from Florsheims. Perhaps the Duke. This Duke dress boot will unleash that kingly appearance in you for $135. Fellow candidate Carly Fiorina flaunted her higher-heeled boots, tweeting, "Yeah, at Marco Rubio, but can you rock these?" And Rand Paul rubbed it in.
I'm in Whoopi Goldberg's office trying to choose some new shoes. We've seen Rubio has those cute new boots, and we're wondering whether we need some new shoes.
Chris Christie might, or at least some new socks, since these two seem mismatched. But Senator Rubio's boots are made for walking.
Little speech, he walked over to me and gave me this little tortoise and said, slow and steady wins the race. So hopefully that's true.
True for him and for you?
Yes.
Why do you have a turtle in your pocket?
Huh?
He just showed me the turtle.
I give them out to kids.
You just have like a pocket full of turtles?
Slow, steady progress. That's what that means. I do have a bunch of turtles.
Are you serious?
See what I got here. I got the little baby Jesus, got my rosary beads, and I got 3 turtles. On that one.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the turtles?
Yeah. Yes, what about these?
All right, one more. Turtles is the last one. Why are you guys obsessed about the turtles?
I am obsessed with the turtles.
Huh? They're gone. I gave them all out today.
Where do they come from?
Are they sea turtles? They're sea turtles. There's a guy in New Hampshire who didn't come today, but he came with the first town hall. He gives me my stash every time I come up here. Gives me a.
He's from?
Huh?
You know which town he's from?
It's William Gannon, right?
Bill Gannon.
Yeah. And he loves the idea that this is a long haul, and slow, steady wins the race. That's the kind of remember the turtle and the hare. And so these are
joyful tortoise.
These are sea turtles. They're from Florida. They're mighty turtles because they're protected by the great state of Florida because of their beauty. They come onto the beaches. They procreate.
Come on, man. The Hungry for Power game.
Governor George Pataki is out of the race for president.
Senator Lindsey Graham has ended his presidential bid.
Let's pay tribute to the fallen.
Some people hate roaches. I hated poverty. I was absolutely certain that I was born into the wrong family.
Well, Paul, excuse me, Mr. Speaker.
Paul's good.
Gab. I haven't seen him since he's become Speaker. Congratulations.
Thanks.
The country's better off that you're the Speaker of the...
If we gave out trophies to people who fought against all odds, and led by example and showed us how to beat poverty, you would win the Lombardi Trophy, which is the greatest trophy of all football.
Really?
Yeah, yes, it is.
Glad to see your objectivity is right out there, Paul.
Exactly.
Right. I just want to follow up on the Grizzly Bears.
Yeah.
What's that?
I just want to follow up on the Grizzly Bears.
Grizzly Bears, okay.
Yeah, I think one thing that we have accomplished in this society is we have dramatically reduced death by grizzly bears. That's corporal punishment at the Liberty Charter School. I
didn't participate, just for the record. I want to make sure.
Didn't participate.
There's some friends in the press back there.
And we're not endorsing corporal punishment, you know.
No, actually, you know what?
My mother did, though. She believed in the switch. I'm not sure about y'all, but
I think all of our moms might have endorsed it.
I went to Catholic grade school, junior high. I had nuns as for most of my teachers. I learned this. It also developed within me a healthy fear of nuns.
Was at one point when she was a young adult living in a trailer in Florida. As she moved to South Carolina, now she's a billionaire, so everybody needs to move to South Carolina. Perhaps not my point, but the point is that...
Yeah, that is your point.
All politics is local, Tim.
Exactly. Before their primary even casts one vote, they've already endorsed Hillary Clinton. You know what that means? That she is bought and paid for, just like my legislature is bought and paid for.
In fact, have you heard about the plumber? The neurosurgeon had some plumbing work done, and the plumber gave him the bill, and it was $2,700. And he said, $2,700? I don't get that for a procedure, and I'm a neurosurgeon. And the plumber said, I didn't get that when I was a neurosurgeon either.
When any of the adults have problems with their smartphone, you hand it to your 13-year-old child. That's what I do. I mean, I hand my phone to Bridget when I can't figure it out, and Bridget's 12 years old, and she hits a couple of buttons, and all of a sudden gives me, here you go, Dad, it's done. You know, their minds work differently.
Because if you're not reporting your income to the government, best applause line I've gotten my whole campaign, we're going to get rid of the IRS. But look, I think the IRS
You might want to say
itself.
it again, then.
Yeah.
One of the things I hope we do at the federal government is find more ways to take all the money we spend on anti-poverty and turn them over to John Kasich and governors like that at the state level
You guys are
so that they
this
can
now,
make a
aren't
difference.
you?
Yeah, I think they probably support block granting. It sounds like something like that.
The way, Marco, when you went to college in the 70s, it's always good for a nice protest every once in a while.
I thought about handling them the way another candidate does, but I thought it would be, it's not my event. So, the second thing we have to do is allow businesses.
What the?
I'll let them finish. We're going to enforce our immigration laws, guys. We're going to be a country that enforces our immigration laws. A more attractive place for people to invest. Does the clock stop while they scream?
Yeah, we'll let you go.
First of all, if there are any more protesters out here, I think we got the point. And if
Do
you
it when
keep,
Kasich speaks.
And if you keep, no.
Part of the foundation, honestly, of success in our country.
Break, man.
Yes, it was.
As you know, Secretary Clinton has been criticizing you. Have you noticed lately that she's been getting more aggressive with you?
Yes.
Why is that?
I don't know. It could be.
You tell me.
It could be that the inevitable candidate for the Democratic nomination may not be so inevitable today.
Want to break up the big banks in the
I
United
want to
States?
break up the big banks on Wall Street.
Can you give me some specifics? Are we talking about Bank of America? You would
Yes.
break.
Well, here's what we're talking about.
J.P. Morgan.
Yeah, but here's
Wells
what.
Fargo. Citigroup.
Keep going. You're doing good.
Oh man, Senator, sorry, you guys are like raising my blood pressure. Let's talk about weed.
Do you think that would help your blood pressure?
I mean, I
Is
don't
this
know.
medicinal weed or?
We'll see.
Senator, when you were a student activist, you outlined a case for sexual freedom in your school newspaper.
Did
Today,
I?
the-
See that I was talking about this issue many years ago.
Is it off-brand for a democratic socialist to live in a mansion like the White House?
Well, I would consider it more like public housing.
Do you believe that Secretary Clinton will continue the deportation policies of the Obama administration?
No, because she's not going to win the election. I am.
And on this very stage, for the first time since this forum started, candidates are appearing individually and not together, as per the DNC. Is the DNC the reason you've struggled to challenge Hillary Clinton's nomination?
Yes. My wife asked me at Christmas time, what would you like for Christmas? I said, 2 more points in an Iowa poll.
On the campaign trail, you commonly use the phrase, "We're all in this together." Tell me, are you a High School Musical fan?
Was that something in High School Musical?
We're all in this together. You know,
Oh, how
it's a
about
song.
that?
It's like the main song. It's cool.
Secretary Clinton, can you tell us what the term white privilege means to you? And can you give me an example from your life or career when you think you have benefited from it?
Well,
Would you commit right now not to use the word illegal or illegals to refer to undocumented immigrants?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You know, yeah, that was a poor choice of words, and obviously, historically, and
So you won't
mostly
use it
have used
anymore?
undocumented. I haven't used it since. I won't use it in the future.
Okay. How many email accounts do you have?
I have one.
Right.
I once had a selfie with Kim Kardashian.
yeah.
And she had one of those devices that you put onto your case that lit it up all the way around. Have you ever seen those?
Yeah, the good lighting.
Yeah, you have one? Published this amazing picture. It was my head, and I was wearing something that I actually own. Sometimes I know that it's not my body because they put my head on somebody else's clothes, but this one was my clothes. And I had, and there were arms coming around, and the headline was Hillary's secret alien baby.
Can you say categorically tonight that Senator Bernie Sanders cannot win the presidency?
Anybody can win. I mean, this is such, who would have thought Donald Trump would be leading in national polls?
Presentation of the brown and black
go
form.
to that debate. You won't be in the so-called undercard.
No,
debate.
I think an artificial designation as being in the second tier is something that we don't want to accept that, because it really sort of points fingers and says, well, are you really going to be a contender? We are a contender. We think we have a national campaign that can contend for victory, and we can't accept sort of an artificial designation by anybody.
So you won't attend this debate. You won't be in the undercard. I just want to be precise.
Absolutely. I won't participate in anything that's not the first tier because we have a first tier campaign.
And you notified Fox of that.
We've let them know that.
Is that your watch?
My watch can't be talking. Is it my watch?
Yeah, it sounds like it.
I'll call you back. I've never had my bat phone be turned on. That's the coolest thing in the world. I know when it's ringing, but I've never actually used it.
Yeah, well, there you go.
Underutilized iWatch. Where were we?
My qualifications for President of the United States are rather narrow. Is he or she godly? Does he or she love us? Can he or she do the job? And finally, would they kill a duck and put him in a pot and make him a good duck gumbo? I've looked at the candidates. Ted Cruz is my man. He's godly. He loves us. He's the man for the job, and he will go duck hunting because today we're going. Ted Cruz is my man. I'm voting for him.
Cruz, the reason we're going to vote for you, all of us, is because you're one of us, my man. That's why we're voting for you. It's now or never.
Just one other thing, I got to get this off my chest. Donald Trump is a jerk.
Donald Trump facing new criticism last night in South Carolina. He appeared to mock a reporter with a disability.
Okay, you got to see this guy. I don't know what I said. I don't remember.
I have a 12-year-old son who's handicapped. He has cerebral palsy, and that just made me so angry. And I told my wife I just couldn't let that stand. I had to do something. Make sure Donald Trump wasn't the nominee for the Republican Party.
I believe life is precious. I think life is truly a gift from God. And we're all equal under God's watchful eye. That's what I believe. And when anybody disparages people with disabilities, it sets me off. That's why I called him a jerk. What kind of person would you want to have in the presidency that does that? At what point do we say, enough of this? Let's start solving problems. I'm Jeb Bush, and I approve this message.
Good evening and welcome to the North Charleston Coliseum and Performing Arts Center.
This evening, Fox Business is bringing you the 6th Republican presidential debate of the 2016 campaign. For the next hour, 3 of the candidates will be answering the questions voters want answered.
So let's introduce them. Former Hewlett-Packard CEO Carly Fiorina. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. And former Pennsylvania Senator Rick Santorum.
And unlike another woman in this race, I actually love spending time with my husband.
When I went to Afghanistan, I saw a land that looked like the land of the Flintstones. It was desolate, it was barren, it was primitive.
But recent polls show the majority of Americans are in favor of universal background checks.
Not in this room.
It's the poll data. So
and we all
why?
believe the poll data all the time, don't we?
So tell me.
Mrs. Clinton, actually, you cannot wipe a server with a towel.
I tell you who won because we passed the bill, and I know I'm out of time, but I'm going to take some of Rand Paul's time here for a second.
You know, everybody out there watching knows this. You cannot wait to see the debate between me and Hillary Clinton. You would pay to see that fight.
Thank you to all the candidates. That does it, everyone, for the first debate right here in North Charleston.
It is 9 p.m. here at the North Charleston Coliseum at Performing Arts Center in South Carolina. I'm Neil Cavuto alongside my friend and co-moderator, Maria Bartiromo. Now, the 7 candidates on the stage tonight were selected based on their standing in 6 national polls, as well as polls in the early voting states of Iowa and New Hampshire. And here they are. Businessman Donald Trump. Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Neurosurgeon Ben Carson. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. And Ohio Governor John Kasich.
Sometimes it seems the world is on fire. Where and when should a president use military action to restore order?
Well, Maria, I'm glad to have heard from you in the summary of that question about what's going on in the world, because on Tuesday night I watched Story Time with Barack Obama, and I got to tell you, it sounded like everything in the world was going amazing, you know?
If she gets elected, her first 100 days, instead of setting an agenda, she might be going back and forth between the White House and the courthouse. We need to stop that.
How do you attack a network that does not respect national borders?
Well, I'm very happy to get a question this early on. I was going to ask you to wake me up when the time came.
Senator Cruz, the New York Times is reporting that you failed to properly disclose $1 million in loans from Goldman Sachs and Citibank.
Well, Maria, thank you for passing on that hit piece on the front page of the New York Times. You know, the nice thing about the mainstream media, they don't hide their views. The New York Times a few weeks back had a columnist who wrote a column saying anybody but Cruz. Had that actually that same columnist wrote a column comparing me to an evil demonic spirit from the movie It Follows that jumps apparently from body to body possessing people. So, you know, the New York Times and I don't exactly have the warmest of relationships.
You were born in Canada to an American mother, so you were and are considered an American citizen. But that fellow next to you, Donald Trump, and others have said that being born in Canada means you are not natural born.
You know, back in September, my friend Donald said that he had had his lawyers look at this from every which way. And there was no issue there. There was nothing to this birther issue. Now, since September, the Constitution hasn't changed. But the poll numbers have. Insist that you must not only be born on U.S. soil, but have two parents born on U.S. soil. Under that theory, not only would I be disqualified, Marco Rubio would be disqualified, Bobby Jindal would be disqualified, and interestingly enough, Donald J. Trump would be disqualified. Donald,
big difference.
On the issue of citizenship, Donald, I'm not going to use your mother's birth against you.
Okay, good. Because it wouldn't work. NBC Wall Street Journal just came out with a poll. Headline, Trump way up, Cruz going down. I mean, so you can't, they don't like the Wall Street Journal, they don't like NBC, but I like the poll. And frankly, it just came out. We're running, he does great. I win. I choose him as my vice presidential candidate, and the Democrats sue because we can't take him along for the ride. I don't like that, okay? The fact is, and if for some reason he beats the rest of the field, if for some, see, they don't like that. They don't like that. But, no, they don't like that he beats the rest of the field because they want me. But
why now? Why are you raising this issue now?
Because now he's doing a little bit better. No, I didn't care before. It's true. No, it's true. Hey, look, he never had a chance. Now he's doing better. He's got probably a 4 or 5% chance.
Well, listen, I've spent my entire life defending the Constitution before the U.S. Supreme Court, and I'll tell you, I'm not going to be taking legal advice from Donald Trump.
You don't have to. Take it from Lawrence Trump.
And I'll tell you what, Donald, you very kindly just a moment ago offered me the VP slot. I'll tell you what, if this all works out, I'm happy to consider naming you as VP. And so if you happen to be right, you could get the top job at the end of the day.
No, I think if it doesn't... I like that. I like it. I'd consider it. But I think I'll go back to building buildings if it doesn't work out.
Actually, I'd
But
love to get you to build
I have
a wall.
a feeling it's going to work out, actually.
The real question here, I hate to interrupt this episode of Court TV, but the real... But the
siren call of the angriest voices. She confirmed she was referring to you, among others. Was she out of line? And how would a President Trump unite the party?
Okay. First of all, Nikki this afternoon said I'm a friend of hers, actually a close friend. And wherever you are sitting, Nikki, I am a friend. We're friends. That's good.
our next president and our Republican nominee cannot be someone who supports those positions.
Governor?
You know, I stood on the stage and watched Marco and rather indignantly look at Governor Bush and say, someone told you that because we're running for the same office, that criticizing me will get you to that office. It appears that the same someone's been whispering in old Marco's ear, too.
Everybody needs to discount some of the things you're going to hear in these ads and discount the back and forth here, because every person here is better than Hillary Clinton.
Neil, I was mentioned too.
Where?
Yeah, he said everybody.
Oh.
So what does it say about our country that a candidate who is a self-avowed socialist and who doesn't think a 90% tax rate is too high could be the Democratic nominee?
Well, if that's the case, we're going to win every state. If Bernie Sanders is the nominee, that's not even an issue. But look.
You know, I think most people know exactly what New York values are.
I am from New York.
Well, you're from New York, so
Yeah.
you might not. But I promise you in the state of South Carolina, they do.
When the World Trade Center came down, I saw something that no place on earth could have handled more beautifully, more humanely than New York. You had two 100... And I have to tell you, that was a very insulting statement that Ted made.
He says the airstrikes now in their 16th month have been ineffective. Dr. Carson.
Wait a minute. Who in their 16th month?
The airstrikes.
Oh, okay.
Now in their 16th month. Mr. Trump, your comments about banning Muslims from entering the country created a firestorm. Is there anything you've heard that makes you want to rethink this position?
No.
Well, after he made them, his poll numbers went up 8 points in South Carolina. No, wait.
11 points to be exact.
Are you saying, last week the New York Times editorial board quoted you as saying that you would impose up to a 45% tariff on Chinese goods?
That's wrong. They were wrong. It's the New York Times. They're always wrong.
Well,
but what he's talking about, I think, has got merit. And I'm not putting that tariff or whatever he's saying here, but here's what I am saying.
I'm liking him
for
tonight.
too long. No, for form.
And we don't need a weak person being president of the United States, okay? Because that's what we'd get if it were I'll tell you what. We don't need that. We don't need that. The way we.
When you head back to the airport tonight, go check and see.
Oh, yeah,
what the
I'll check for you.
Check it out.
To actually answer the question you asked, which was on entitlements. Do you remember that, everybody? This was a question on entitlements.
I'll answer the entitlement question.
reason, now you already had your chance, Marky, you blew it. Here's the thing.
as someone who has to deal with controversial police shootings, all right. You've had to deal with controversy.
Why you wore a red tie.
Exactly.
And Congress tries to cut the military, I will veto that in a millisecond.
There's.
I'm going to get a response to that, Neil. There's no way he launches 11 attacks. He had no fewer than 11 attacks there. I appreciate your dumping your Oppo research folder on the debate
it's your
stage.
record.
But I will say,
Do you think they like each
at
other?
least half of the things Marco said are flat out false.
We need to control the border. We need to do all of this in a comprehensive way, not just going back and forth and talking about stuff.
You answer this question.
Oh, I'll talk about that too. But you haven't asked me a question in a while, Neil, so I thought I'd get that off my chest. If you don't mind.
Fair enough.
So,
gentlemen, thank you all of you. That wraps up our debate. We went a little bit over here, but we wanted to make sure everyone was able to sit their due. He's upset. All right, thank you for joining us.
Without any hesitation, without any doubt,
that Jeb Bush is ready on day one to be a commander-in-chief worthy of the sacrifices of the 1% who have been fighting this war. Last night, he said, "I will have their backs." I believe he will.
The Democratic Candidates Debate, live from the Gilliard Center in Charleston, South Carolina.
So let's get started. Please welcome Secretary Hillary Clinton, Senator Bernie Sanders, and Governor Martin O'Malley. In fact, our polling shows she's beating you more than 2-1 among minority voters. How could he be the nominee if you don't have that support?
Well, let me talk about polling. The Secretary...
We're going to get into all that coming up, but we're going to take a break. We need to take a break, and when we come back, the anger brewing in America.
Because what her campaign was saying, Bernie Sanders, who has fought for universal health care for my entire life, he wants to end Medicare, end Medicaid, end the Children's Health Insurance Program. That is nonsense.
Let me continue. You call yourself a democratic socialist, and throughout your career in politics, you've been critical of the Democratic Party.
And President Obama has led our country out of the Great Recession. Senator Sanders called him weak, disappointing. He even in 2011 publicly sought someone to run in a primary against. You have raised money on Wall Street. You raised a lot of money on Wall Street when you were the head of the Democratic Governors Association.
Yeah, but I haven't gotten a penny this year, so somebody please go on to MartinO'Malley.com. Go on to MartinO'Malley.com. Send me your checks. They're not giving me zero.
As president, would you hand Vladimir Putin a reset button? What's your relationship with him?
Well, my relationship with him, it's interesting. It's
Secretary Clinton, I cut you off. I'll give you 30 seconds to respond on the issue of lone wolves.
Can I get 30 seconds too?
Let's do what? You have said that President Clinton would advise you on economic issues, but be specific if you can. Are you talking about a kitchen table role on economics, or will he have a real policy role?
Well, it'll start at the kitchen table. We'll see how it goes from there. And
Is there anything that you really wanted to say tonight that you haven't gotten a chance to say? And we'll start with Governor O'Malley. Didn't see that coming, did you?
Much, but we're going to have to get 20 minutes to do it. So, look, I believe there are many issues. What, 60 seconds for this?
60 seconds. We appreciate it. And thanks to all of you for being here tonight, shedding light on some of the differences.
We begin with the bombshell endorsement on the campaign trail. No matter where you stand on Sarah Palin, she is a force among conservative voters. And tonight, as you can see, she's on that stage a short time ago declaring she is, quote, proud to endorse Donald J. Trump, throwing her conservative credentials and star power behind the Republican frontrunner.
I would like to bring up, if I might, Governor Sarah Palin.
Tonight, Sarah Palin is back.
Are you ready to make America great again?
Shaking up the Republican race with just 13 days to go before the Iowa
Hospital officials confirmed Tuesday night that a volunteer for Ben Carson's Republican presidential campaign died Tuesday after a van carrying 4 staff members flipped over on a patch of ice in Iowa and was rammed by another vehicle. Carson immediately suspended his campaign for at least 2 days to travel from South Carolina to Omaha, Nebraska, where the volunteer was rushed for treatment at the University of Nebraska Medical Center. The candidate will soon meet with the family of the volunteer, whom the hospital identified as 25-year-old Braden Joplin. Carson was campaigning Tuesday in South Carolina when he got the news and cancelled the rest of his schedule for the day, as well as a scheduled appearance in California on Wednesday.
Let's be lovers, we'll marry our fortunes together. I've got some real estate here in my bag. in the cars on the New Jersey Turnpike, they've all come to look for America. All come to look for America.
I'm Bernie Sanders, and I approve this message.
If you nominate Trump and Cruz, I think you get the same outcome. You know, whether it's death by being shot or poisoning, does it really matter? I don't think the outcome will be substantially different.
As a kid, Marco routinely colored outside the lines.
Marco Rubio double dips potato chips.
Who does that?
I once saw Marco Rubio jaywalk.
The man once took 11 items through the express line.
He once said he caught a fish this big.
Marco Rubio doesn't RSVP.
I heard Marco Rubio once tore the tag off a mattress.
They say, I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible. The establishment, the media, the special interest, the lobbyists, the donors, they're all against me. I'm self-funding my campaign. I don't owe anybody anything. I only owe it to the American people to do a great job. They are really trying to stop me. Everybody knows it. Everybody sees it. We're going to win it for the people. We're going to win it for our country. We're going to make America great again.
I'm here to stress to you how important it is for conservatives to rally together and support a consistent conservative candidate who will take on Washington, who can defeat the Democrat nominee. That's why I support Ted Cruz for president. As an Air Force veteran, I understand the sacrifices that our men and women in the military make every day to keep us safe. They deserve a commander-in-chief who values their service, who will keep our military strong, and who will always put America's national security interests first. He has proven that he is ready to serve as our commander-in-chief on day one. He's also proven the willingness to take on the Washington cartel and restore power and opportunity back to the people. He's proven that he'll do what is necessary to secure our borders, to defeat radical Islamic terrorism, and to ensure our brave veterans receive the care they've earned. Ted is the leader that we need to reignite the promise of America. That's why I'm supporting Ted Cruz and asking Iowa Republicans to caucus for Cruz next Monday, February the 1st.
And my wife told me to button my coat, but I think I'm too fat, so I'm going to keep it like that.
I'll do the same then. I'll do the same.
All right, so one more point, Chris. I'm trying to win her vote. Leave me alone here. I'm trying to...
If you were elected president, you're 75 now. You would be the
74.
You were 74, going on 75. You're close to 75.
I'm going on 75, so are you. You're going to be 75.
That's true, that's true.
It's Q&A time. Am I allowed to stand?
You can do whatever you want.
I'm not capable of doing Q&A in Iowa
please.
from a seat.
Wherever you want to be. All right, I'll take your call. It's fine.
Good evening.
Hi.
I think he said something like, you know, he said, I was like Fred Astaire and she had to do everything I had to do, only she was Ginger Rogers doing it backwards in high heels.
Taylor Gipple, Iowa native, first-time caucus goer, leaning Sanders, but has a question for Secretary Clinton.
Let me help you up here.
We want to thank Secretary Clinton, Governor O'Malley, and Senator Sanders, and everyone who made this town hall possible.
Governor George Pataki, Governor, welcome.
Good
to have you back with us again this morning.
Thank you.
So it was not to be for you this time around, but you have decided, looking at this entire crew who you think is the best person for the job. Who's that?
Yeah, I took a look at all the candidates, and in my mind, there's one person who stands out, and that is Senator Marco Rubio. We need someone who's going to bring Americans together. Senator Rubio has the leadership, he has the vision, he has the intelligence from Congress to understand what it takes to defend us against radical Islam, and I'm proud to endorse Senator Rubio.
Sioux City, your Woodbury County Supper Club has quite a cute baby. Try the pork chops, baked beans, just as good as Pizza Ranch and Lamar's ice cream. Arctic Blast, Sub-Zero Chills, campaigning is a dream. I got frostbite, gangrene. Iowans are not for sale, they're stubborn and picky. There's just no difference between Obama and Hillary. Hello from the caucus night. If Bernie wins, I'm gonna die. This crazy circus, it's gone cuckoo, cuckoo, and Huckabee is the guy who's long overdue. Hello, Iowa caucus night. We've called and knocked 1,000 times to say this election, it's all gone insane. Huckabee's honest, time to board the train today. Hello, Davenport. Amish chairs, Casey's jerky, Quad Cities has quite a port. Cedar Rapids, Czech Village. Corn and coffee politics, a selfie stick image. There's a difference between Huck and the other 50. Hello from the caucus night. If Bernie wins, I'm gonna die. This crazy circus, it's gone cuckoo, cuckoo, and Huckabee is the guy who's long overdue. Hello, Iowa caucus night. We've called and knocked 1,000 times to say this election, it's all gone insane. Huckabee's honest, time to board the train today. Sorry for everything that I've done. You never deemed to be wrong.
I'm Martha McCallum.
And good evening, I'm Bill Hemmer. We are live at the Iowa Event Center here in downtown Des Moines. In only 4 days, Iowa officially kicks off the race for the White House. Tonight, you're going to hear from the candidates, and 4 of them are on stage right now. Let's introduce them. Businesswoman, former CEO of Hewlett-Packard, Carly Fiorina.
Thank you. Former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee.
Also with us tonight, 2-time Senator from Pennsylvania, Rick Santorum.
And former Virginia Governor Jim Gilmore.
We're not hearing any of those things. We're hearing about whether someone's going to show up for the next debate or not.
Quickly then, after this debate, you mentioned Donald Trump's name. Immediately you're going to an event across town here in Des Moines as a guest of Donald Trump. So, are you laying the groundwork for maybe your future, perhaps an endorsement of Mr. Trump?
You know, this again, more of the politics of trying to get people to throw stuff at each other. I'm not going to throw mud at anybody on this stage tonight.
There are some in the GOP who are so outraged by Trump and Cruz that they say they would actually rather have Hillary Clinton in the White House. So tell me, in your opinion, are New York values different than Iowa values?
You know, I would leave that to other people. I'm not going to get into an argument with all the New Yorkers because there's a lot of them.
Governor Huckabee. Nikki Haley, Republican governor from South Carolina, recently said...
Did you miss me? Did you skip me?
I did not, but
I'm going to have something to say about this. You just keep going.
You bet, Governor. We have a couple more in the hopper for you in a moment here.
Yeah, I'll be there.
First, Governor Huckabee.
And I just noticed just now you gave Carly Fiorina 2 one-minute answers in a row. This media across the country is manipulating and shaping and framing this campaign. If gun control comes to the president's desk when I'm president, I'll veto it as fast as it takes Hillary Clinton to eliminate her emails.
In the last debate, you said as part of your introduction, quote, and unlike the other woman candidate in this race, I actually love spending time with my husband.
He's right there. He's right there. But listen, if my husband did what Bill Clinton did, I would have left him long ago. So here's the deal. Here now, she is trying for the White House. She's probably more qualified for the big house. Honestly, she's escaped prosecution more times than El Chapo. Perhaps Sean Penn should interview her.
Well, this week there was a little dust-up about a video we put together with the music of Adele. So I thought it'd be appropriate for me to begin tonight by saying, hello, Iowa. It's me.
That concludes our debate tonight, but the night has just begun.
In 1 hour, 7 more candidates take the stage for a debate hosted by Bret Baier, Megyn Kelly,
I'm Bret Baier,
Chris
along
Wallace.
with my co-moderators, Megyn Kelly and Chris Wallace.
And here they are. Texas Senator Ted Cruz. Florida Senator Marco Rubio.
Neurosurgeon Dr. Ben Carson. Former Florida Governor Jeb Bush. New Jersey Governor Chris Christie.
Ohio Governor John Kasich. And Kentucky Senator Rand Paul.
Senator Cruz, before we get to the issues, let's address the elephant not in the room tonight. Donald Trump has chosen not to attend this evening's presidential debate.
Let me say, I'm a maniac, and everyone on this stage is stupid, fat, and ugly. And Ben, you're a terrible surgeon. Now that we've gotten the Donald Trump portion out of the way.
I kind of miss Donald Trump. He was a little teddy bear to me. We always had such a loving relationship during these debates and in between and the tweets. I kind of miss him. I wish he was here.
Governor Bush. Chris, I was mentioned in that question.
No, your name wasn't mentioned, Ted.
Actually, I don't think your name was mentioned. I think the vote, no, sir.
Chris, your question said you've attacked.
I think the vote question was about, it's not my question that you get a chance to respond to. It's his answer. You don't get 30 seconds to respond to me.
Your question was you have disagreed.
You don't get 30 seconds to respond to me.
His opening statement.
I'd like to go on, sir. I know you like to argue about the rules, but we're going to conduct the debate. Governor Bush, here's the question. Governor Bush, here's the question. I'm going to ask Governor Bush the question.
Chris, I would note that the last 4 questions have been Rand, please attack Ted. Marco, please attack Ted. Chris, please attack Ted. Jeb, please attack Ted. Let me just say this.
It is a debate, sir.
Well, no, a debate actually is a policy issue, but I will say this, gosh, if you guys ask one more mean question, I may have to leave the stage.
Senator Rubio,
I was mentioned
what would you like to say?
Yes, sir. As well by Senator
First
Cruz.
of all,
I'd like to respond.
Let me go first, and then you can please recognize Rand after. But first of all,
thank you, Marco.
First of all, don't worry, I'm not leaving the stage no matter what you ask me.
Good.
And second of all,
There was a question about foreign policy, by the way, and experience, and I thought if I didn't jump in, I might not be able to tell everybody this. I think they'd want to hear it. Look, I served on...
We'll be talking about foreign policy a little bit later. We're going to talk...
We have a lot to cover, but we want to turn the page to domestic terror.
But wait a minute. The only reason is...
No,
look,
because we want to turn the page to domestic terror, and let me tell you why. We're partnering with Google on this debate, and they're telling us that their search results have gone through the roof.
I've always listened to you, Megan. Go ahead.
You're a good man, Governor Kasich.
Yes. Thank you.
The search results...
But can you name even one thing that the federal government does now that it should not do at all?
Yeah. You want one?
I want one.
Yeah.
That is the book where you changed your position on immigration, because you used to support a path to citizenship.
So did you.
Well, but you changed in the book.
So did you, Marco.
You wrote a book where you changed your position. This is the lie that Ted's campaign is built on, and Rand touched upon it. That he's the most conservative guy, and everyone else is a rhino. The truth is, Ted, throughout this campaign, you've been willing to say or do anything in order to get votes. Ted, you worked for George W. Bush's campaigns.
I watched the video of Senator Cruz. I watched the video of Senator Rubio. I heard what they said, and this is why you need to send someone from outside of Washington to Washington. I feel like I need a Washington to English dictionary converter.
If America does not seem like a welcoming place for immigrant entrepreneurs, will the American economy suffer?
Dr. Carson, that one's for you.
Oh, okay, great. I think Bernie Sanders is a good candidate for president of Sweden. We don't want to be Sweden. We want to be the United States of America.
Donald Trump, for example, I'm glad I mentioned his name again, just if anybody was missing him.
Gentlemen, thank you all so much for being here tonight. We appreciate it greatly. And that does it for the 7th Republican primary debate of the 2016 presidential race.